Hello and welcome to Fresh Face Comics, the comic book podcast where a lifelong comic book reader guides his friend through the world of comics for the first time. My name is Joey Morgan, the aforementioned lifelong reader. With me as always is Jacob Licklider, the aforementioned newbie.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to bust through the bullshit of Dan DiDio in a single bound.
Ah, you beautiful
This
bastard.
is Grant Morrison.
That is, I think, one of your best intros yet. You're absolutely correct. We're reading Grant Morrison's Action Comics today, which is so exciting and sort of continuing a 4-episode long Grant Morrison block.
Yeah,
It's kind of worked out. Yeah, last 2 episodes we did Grant Morrison's Batman. It's time for Grant Morrison's Superman, and to see how that goes.
Yeah, they're proper. Well, okay. The problem with Grant Morrison's Superman is that they have written Superman at multiple different times in their career.
True. And so, in fact, the last time we covered Superman on the podcast, it was Grant Morrison. So, just in a different format, obviously.
With a very different story, but also a story that kind of thematically works with what Morrison's doing here. I have thoughts, okay?
Yeah.
Grant Morrison just...
We'll get into it. But today, of course, we're covering the first volume of Action Comics by Grant Morrison. This is Superman and the Men of Steel, issues 1 through 8, with a couple backup stories by Sholly Fish, which is really great.
With art.
By Rags Morales, yes, and Andy Kubert, which is nice. But I will say, if you have the trades or if you have the Omni of Grant Morrison's Action Comics, it's a little weird the way we're going to be covering it. So I have the trade, you have the Omni. For the purposes of you being the new reader, we'll do it the way that you read it. The trade splits it up a little weird because Morrison wrote it that issues 5 and 6 are actually just a totally separate arc from 1 through 4 and 7 and 8. So the trade puts 5 and 6 probably where they should go after 7 and 8. And then all the backup stories from issues 5 through 8 are all included at the end of the trade, but we're going to cover them. I think the Omni just puts it all in order and puts the backup stories where they belong. So
the Omni also keeps the end of issue captions.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
So like at the end of issue 4, it's the story will continue in Superman in Action Comics number 7. Next time interlude, what rocket ship?
That's
which
interesting.
Is great.
I like that. I think they probably should have just done that for the trades, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we're doing that. But of course, getting into our non-spoiler section as always. Jacob, what is Superman and the Men of Steel about?
Okay, so this thing is. I don't want to say it's a surprisingly influential Superman comic. But it's surprisingly really influential. Like, this is Grant Morrison's take on Superman's early life as Superman. It's the New 52. Morrison is basically given, you can play with anything. You're setting this 5 years in the past. Go ahead. We're going to let you be Grant Morrison. And Morrison wants to just do all the things of, let's get the origin down. Let's get the Superman mythos that I love back in the world, even though we're dealing with the New 52. And let's really tribute specifically the golden age of comics.
Most definitely.
Oh my gosh, this is like Action Comics number 1. The first issue of this run is very heavily inspired by the first 2 issues of Action Comics from way back in the late 30s.
Also, really cool. Importantly, we happen to be recording this on Superman's anniversary. Which is really cool. 86 years of Superman. We're recording this on February 29th, which is really cool. It's just nice. And also the day that we got production news on Superman Legacy, which is now called just Superman. So yeah, that's cool. It's nice. It's a good day for Superman, and I'm very happy.
It's a good day for Superman. It's a good. I'd also argue, as I was reading this, we didn't do a bonus episode on it. Joey and I both watched as it was coming out, My Adventures with Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling My Adventures was taking from this run in a lot of ways. Like
there's incredibly possible.
There's just a lot there that like what My Adventures does that Morrison is doing, especially with the situation of Clark Kent as a character, as well as the very interesting development that this is early Clark Kent, so he doesn't know, oddly enough, like the Golden Age and those first early issues where we had the name Krypton, but we didn't really have what that meant. Like, we didn't have everything. It's great. It's fascinating. Also, this is just a great story. It's very possibly the most normal story Grant Morrison has written that we've covered.
Possibly until you get to issues 5 and 6.
I mean, 5 and 6 are both kind of just flashbacks. And very good flashbacks. Also, Morrison isn't afraid of taking in modern concepts and getting them there because, let's be honest, so this is a New 52 book.
Mm-hmm.
The New 52 was a mess.
We love it.
There's a reason my editor said able to smash through Dan DiDio in a single bound.
We love Dan DiDio, a king.
You may love Dan DiDio.
He's the Burger King. There's photo evidence.
I do not like Burger King.
Anyway, let's get into some Twitter questions.
Just go right past me saying that, like, it's clear Morrison is. It doesn't feel like Morrison is fighting with DiDio, but Morrison is like, I am going to try to actually make this reboot work, even though editorial is not giving them support, and among other things.
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's actually start off on Discord for Twitter instead of Twitter for our friend Andrew, friend of the podcast. Do you think that Morrison writes Superman as well as Batman?
I mean, yes, like they do.
But which do you prefer, mayhaps?
Okay, here's the problem. It's going to come down to the fact that I like Superman slightly more than I like Batman.
Goddamn. Okay.
That's not a question I can answer, like, fairly. I also think...
Who's better, Grant Morrison's Mrs. N or Grant Morrison's Talia al Ghul?
Grant Morrison's Mrs. N, who I am waiting to figure out if she is secretly like Mr. Mixie at Spitlick or something. Look,
what makes you say that?
Because I have a feeling that Mixie at Spitlick is coming in this run. Like,
is there something inside the Omni that tells you that?
No.
I feel like there is, because Grant Morrison definitely does some Fifth Dimension shit later on in the run.
I'm not spoiling myself. There was just a mention at one point of like someone being scared of a little man who's the devil. I'm like, that's Mixie Spitlick. That's like
fair enough.
Morrison, I know your tricks, Morrison.
It's true. On that, let's go over to Twitter questions. Actually, no, sorry, one more Discord question. I always forget if we're allowed to say names from this one server, so I don't know. From a guy named Phil. Yes, the book that made George Perez quit his Superman run after 6 issues. I wouldn't place that blame solely on Action Comics.
I'd place that blame on DiDio.
That's fair. That's fair. And also, it's a massive like snowball effect of everything. It's like, you know, it's Morrison wasn't able to fully plan out everything for their run on Action, and so Perez was supposed to adhere in his Superman run, which took place in the present day at the time, to a run that was taking place in continuity 5 years before that run. So Perez was reasonably frustrated by that, but that was also partly DiDio's fault because Perez also wasn't able to get basic answers about where Superman's like supporting cast is within the New 52. I know one of the big things was like for a long time they had not decided if Ma and Pa Kent were alive or not. So that's fun. Which if you're rebooting your universe to be new reader friendly, maybe you should decide those things. Yeah.
And not like and not spring it on your writers.
Yeah. Anyway, our next questions come from our friend Kian at Kian the Quark. Why does Superman and the Men of Steel sound like a gay porn parody title? It does. I hadn't thought about that until you said it, Kian, and now I won't be able to unhear that. His next question says, why is he wearing jeans? Is he stupid? Kind of. I mean, he's early Superman, so yeah, sort of, a little bit.
Because it's a look. He's a good old farm boy from Kansas.
He is. And yeah. Our friend Jamie at Jamie_season7 says, "I bet he's Bruce Wayne." I mean, yeah. Look at him. Look at that silhouette. Look at that chin. Look at yeah. He's Bruce Wayne, obviously.
He's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. Our last question actually comes from our friend Rules Panda at Joey Can Read This. How would you write Superman if given the chance? That's a big one. That's a big question.
That's difficult. Here's the hard part about answering the question. You assume I'm a writer.
I mean, hey, you have technically written for things that have come out and been released before.
Yeah,
it was adapted work, but you've written.
I would probably. I mean, okay, if I were writing Superman, I would probably have a lot of fun. I would make it. I would obviously lean into the soap opera madness of comic books, because this is me we're talking about. But I'd also emphasize above all else that Superman is a good person and a kind person and is nice and is good.
I love the way you're wording this. That's great. Yeah, that's fair.
There are certain interpretations of Superman that I find less than adequate, especially the more Superman that I read. The less and less I like a certain interpretation that began in 2011.
I don't know.
Specifically written by one Jeff Johns.
Oh, the Justice League one? Yeah. Although, you know what I will say, because we talked about this a little bit when you started reading this run, that Grant Morrison sort of styling this early Superman after a Golden Age Superman kind of works to weirdly justify the more dickish Jeff Johns Superman. It works in this really weird way. Yeah, and also it's no wonder that Superman got fucking burnt to a crisp. So there's that.
Wait, that happened to that Superman?
I that's not specifically how it happened, but yeah, he got fucked. He's dead. He's long gone.
I mean, here's the problem. I want to say good for all the kind of just honestly a bit of blandness in the Johns Justice League run, but I also really like these 8 issues and what Morrison's doing.
This guy's long dead. He has a grave and everything. It's great. Anyway, all right. I guess that actually does our non-spoiler section.
Yes,
pretty short one today. That's all right. It's all good. We're not all long ones. All right, we're gonna get into spoilers now. Consider this your official spoiler warning, as we're about to get into Action Comics, Superman and the Men of Steel. Next time, if you don't already know, we're covering the second volume of this run, Bulletproof, which is issues 9 through 12, issue 0, and the first annual, plus backup stories, of course. That'll be next time, and then for episode 65, I can't believe we're in our mid-60s already with these.
We're in our mid-60s.
We're getting there. We're getting there. And with that, we're jumping into our next mini 2-episode DC block. So be sure to.
Which I'm going to declare right now, it's not going to be written by Grant Morrison.
It is not going to be written by Grant Morrison.
I was going to say I don't know what it's going to be, but I don't.
There is some Grant Morrison like Green Lantern that we could do someday.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of Grant Morrison things we could do someday.
It's true.
I am determined to get us to do Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol and Animal Man.
I'm sure we will someday, but there's just so much. There's so much, and it's great. Anyway, again, consider this your official spoiler warning. As always, I'll leave books and everything linked in the description below. You can buy them on Amazon and all that if you want to keep up with the podcast. But with that, let's get into the book itself. Full spoiler territory.
Full spoilers.
All right. Action Comics number 1. Here we go. Also, it's worth noting the cover of this trade is not a cover of any one issue in this book.
Where did that cover come from?
Yeah, so this cover, actually, I own this issue somewhere. I think I still have it somewhere. It was a preview. It was a free comic book day preview of every New 52 title that was coming up. And this was the cover of that preview issue that was being used to advertise the launch of all the new number 1s in the new universe post Flashpoint. It's that's all it was. And it's just a really great piece of art.
I mean, it's Rags Morales.
Yeah,
that cover too. Rags Morales' art, I think, is something we need to talk about just at the top of our spoiler section here, because it is fantastic. there's something. It's so heavily stylized. It's colored wonderfully throughout this volume, but it also really fits kind of the, I don't want to say primitive, but like almost primitive stylings of that. This is a Golden Age story, because this is a Golden Age story. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, it's very much like Superman over Clark Kent. We don't get a whole lot of Clark in this first arc, and the scenes that we do get, he's not quite interacting with, at least in the present story, because there's quite a few flashbacks that throughout these entire 8 issues that go specifically to Clark's childhood, and we'll get to that, and they're all fascinating. But here we start with a bang that this is Superman in Action Comics. Emphasis on Superman.
Yes, and starts off pretty strong. If people reading this at the time weren't super familiar with how Superman used to be portrayed way back when, it might come as a bit of a shock. He's pretty aggressive.
And you know what? I like it.
It's good. It's good. I would say it also, if we're talking about because you brought up earlier, less than favorable adaptations of Superman. I feel like almost because this was such a recent adaptation, recent comic at the time, some of this early Superman might have influenced some of the early Zack Snyder stuff. In his aggression.
I can see it. I don't know if I agree if it's in entirely the same vein.
I mean, this character, this version of the character basically gets the whole, guy throws a cup at his head and then he just demolishes his entire truck outside a moment. I can totally see that.
I can see the influence. I think Snyder as a filmmaker is a filmmaker very much interested in very cool looking visuals. And he doesn't always think through what he's adapting.
I mean, I don't know. I know you're not a fan, but I don't know.
I'm also not a hater. I'm also not a hater.
That's true. And I know that, but I think also,
I'm also trying to pick my words carefully because you and I both agree Snyder Bros are fucking painful.
Oh, yeah, they're fucking insane. But also, I don't know. I will never understand the take that Snyder Superman is completely without heart or care at all. I don't know. I see so much love in that version of the character. I really do. I don't know. Even if others don't, I don't know. I really see that, and I love that. But.
So our I don't want to say this is our human. We have several human villains across these first 8 issues, for good reason. Because Grant Morrison is incredibly intelligent writer. Very much someone whose writings you can academically analyze. They're also a big fucking nerd, and I say that with love.
Well, right down to the title page here, the classic Golden Age.
I was going to ask, did they reprint that in your trade?
Yeah, it's there.
Because I was looking at this and I swear to God, if this isn't in the trades,
it's in the trade. Superman versus the City of Tomorrow. It's fucking great. Look at that. That's awesome. But you brought up our first human villain in this, Mr. Glenn Morgan, which is
Glenn Morgan, which is
a wonderful name.
Definitely a Superman name. No, in the vein of Siegel and Schuster's naming conventions.
Yep. Every name is alliteration. So
I'm also very curious if the dialogue here of "somebody save me" is meant to be a reference to Smallville.
I hope it is. I really do.
Because this is Morrison we're talking about. It very well.
Have you ever watched Smallville?
I think I've seen the pilot and the first couple of episodes.
Oh, but it sounds to me like that theme song.
Here's the thing: that theme song is certainly a choice.
It's so early 2000s.
Oh my God! I mean, the couple of Smallville I watched for early 2000s. I swear, the plot. There was a plot that I'm fairly certain was also a plot on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Very probably.
Yeah.
Smallville was a great time, but it's also very probably a bad show. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. Superman is a version of Superman is attacking Mr. Glenn Morgan. He's this corrupt businessman, and he is threatening him very publicly before running off into the night and being chased by cops and being monitored by General Sam Lane and Mr. Lex Luthor.
Yes.
So,
this is
Lex.
Okay, we have to talk about Lex because
Lex. I love this interpretation of Lex so much.
I mean, Morrison gets it.
Yeah,
Morrison gets it down immediately.
It's such a little thing, but my absolute favorite touch in this version of the character is the it. Just the insistence that Superman is not a man, he's not he, him, whatever. It's it. He's an alien. He's not like us. It's it. It's just a small thing, but I really love that.
It's also I can hear Clancy Brown.
Oh, totally.
Like
very Clancy Brown.
All of these lines. There are also some lines where I can hear Sam Reich, which is interesting.
But can you hear James Marsters?
Not Superman Doomsday James Marsters.
Maybe you should, though. Have you considered that you should read every interpretation of Lex Luthor like James Marsters?
No. Buffy Torchwood James Marsters.
Of course, yeah, sure.
Crazy. So anyway, the military doesn't really like Superman, and I love this. I love this setup because again, you have the thing about the it. You have the fact that there's this whole this steel soldier budget, which is like, okay, what's this going to be? What is Lex doing? And Morrison is very much characterizing Lex as they did in All-Star Superman in a lot of ways.
Definitely.
Which is just correct. It's a good way of doing it.
Yeah. You can also see here that throughout this, Lex is trying to set a trap for Superman.
This trap being demolishing a building while people are still in it, which is, of course, because this is still Superman, despite Superman being in jeans and a t-shirt and of course his cape. Still gets out of it okay. Like, still saves everybody. He gets captured, but he does save everybody.
It's really great. Well, actually, he doesn't get captured quite yet. He doesn't. Or no, does he make it? Wait, we don't actually get to see it at home this issue, do we? I think I've oh no, we do. We do actually. Okay, yeah. So after avoiding various traps and things like that, Superman makes his way back home. I love this page where you get these couple panels of him changing from his Superman outfit into just Clark Kent. It's really nice. It's simple.
I love this line a little before that. We used to have laws in this town, like gravity. You remember gravity, right?
It's great.
So we have Clark Kent living in an apartment, working for the Daily Star, which was, again, another little Golden Age reference. Before the Daily Planet, it was the Daily Star. Because, which I want to say originally came from Siegel and Schuster's hometown.
Very probably
where that name came from. He
has a landlord, Mrs. N, who comes across a little bit like Mr. Dickovich from the Spider-Man trilogy. It's just she only comes out to ask him about rent and then goes away.
Well, Mr. Dickovich in the Spider-Man trilogy is also a dick. Like, this is a lady who
he's nice. Did you even see Spider-Man 3 and observe its brilliance?
It's been a while, okay?
Becomes nice. He's a nice guy in the third one.
He's a dick in the second one.
He is a dick in the second one, and that's entirely his charm.
Yes. She's also like trying to set up Clark with these two men and a woman who came, like this woman who came by with two men who I don't think we figure out who they are.
I don't think so, actually.
One of them was a blonde. She thought they were actors. My money's maybe on the blonde. I was thinking Cat Grant.
Well, unless that's not setting up the Legion of Superheroes thing later, is it?
Actually, you might be right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because the blonde of the two guys. Yeah. Oh,
yeah. It's okay.
Yeah. That's probably she's fine.
When I first read it, I wasn't even thinking that Morrison was going to use the Legion of Superheroes.
That's fair. Yeah, but yeah, that's probably them. Anyway, but yeah. Lois and Jimmy then. Clark is already in contact with Lois and Jimmy.
Clark is specifically in contact with Jimmy, who already he's Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen.
Yes, of course, yeah.
But sadly, because this is the New 52, Lois Lane is not Superman's girlfriend. Lois Lane, she is She is very, very well characterized, very fun to read. Investigative journalist Lois Lane. But Morrison is true.
But also like she can't be with Clark. So
she can't be with Clark, but it's clear Morrison is like, I can't have these characters share scenes, or else I will just write the Lois and Clark dynamic.
yeah.
Because let's be honest. Thinking back on like what we've read from the New 52 with Superman as a character, Lois hasn't really appeared. Probably because it's really difficult to write Clark Kent Lois Lane scenes without
unless you're really about that shit. You mean like without like putting them together? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's just like even Frank Miller doing his Frank Miller bullshit in Strikes Again.
It's still all about Clark and Lois.
Yeah, like that, you can't. These are just these characters go together, and I know the New 52 eventually
got their shit together.
But like, at what cost? We could have had 18 more issues of Morrison doing Clark and Lois scenes.
It's fine. It's okay. We'll be fine.
But the Jimmy Lois scene is very fun because Lois does have a fucking death wish.
Yeah.
Quite literally, this is the train that's been set to run really, really fast until it runs off a cliff, which I am convinced is a tribute to the classic damsel in distress tied on train tracks, and the train is coming.
Oh, almost definitely.
Like, just updated for the modern day and to make it, not so much a damsel in distress thing.
Lois is choosing to be on here.
Yes.
Yeah, but Superman jumps in to stop this train, but it's, as we mentioned, it's a very fast train, and Superman, in trying to stop it, gets completely slammed into a fucking brick wall and is incapacitated for the time being. And Lex has been monitoring this, and Lex was behind all this shit.
And so Sam Lane is pissed as all hell because his daughter was on that train.
Yeah, and that is where the first issue ends, actually. Bringing us into our second one here with, I love this cover. It's such a great cover. Perfectly followed by the title page, actually, which I love even more. Action Comics number 2. So Superman is caught. He has been caught by Lex Luthor and the U.S. military, it seems, and is being held in this electric chair, which they keep shocking him with. This is Superman in chains, it says, and it's also, I love the credit pages with the heart monitor. It's really cool. Yeah, it's just a nice little touch. Also on this team, looking into Superman here is one John Henry Irons,
as well as one John Corbin.
Yes. But most importantly, John Henry Irons, who I know you are a fan of.
I am very much a fan of. Again, was not expecting John Henry Irons to be a character here. Like, because it's early Superman, and John Henry Irons wasn't created until the 90s. But also, I mean, in a world where, let's be honest, nobody knows if the death of Superman is going to actually be in continuity in this new continuity, because
it is one of those things. Is like, if you're not doing Death of Superman in this world, especially if you can't really do Death of Superman as it was presented without Clark and Lois being together. So you kind of have to assume that it's not canon anymore. And so Morrison just throws in one of the best characters that came out of that arc here, which is really great. Also, I think it was the Superman Wonder Woman title in the New 52 that did Doomsday's actual introduction into the New 52 eventually.
So, and I know both, like, I know Connor Kent was a character in the New 52.
Yeah, he had his own run right from the start. Yeah,
yeah.
Plus, he was part of the Teen Titans run that started.
Yeah, the first Teen Titans run, because there were multiple during the New 52.
Yeah, there were like two. Yeah, two. So
two.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, so. But also John Corbin is here, importantly. So we all know where this is going, really. It's a simple enough setup if you know Superman comics, but if you don't, it could be really exciting if you don't know these characters.
I mean, either way, it's here just for Lex's monologues of just like, okay, we're going to keep these experiments on it going. It's it. I don't care if we destroy the world doing it. I want to shock this motherfucker into oblivion. And yeah,
I also love this bit then where they're trying to damage the cape at all, and just firing everything they have at it. It's just not doing anything to the cape. Just a great little scene. I love that.
And of course, John Henry Irons is just no. Oh, this is, you are torturing someone. This isn't acceptable. And he storms off, and Lex is like, "Oh, I thought he'd never leave." So we've established that torture is a very bad thing. Let's take it to 300,000 volts at 10 amps.
Yeah. It's great. Also, visiting is Lois Lane, who comes to this military base and is denied entry at first.
Her in is, "I'm just here to give my father a Father's Day card." It's like, Father's Day is in June. So what? You're trying to say that more than once a year is less than my darling dad, your boss, deserves? An American hero?
It's such a great scene. I love it. But Sam does go to see his daughter eventually.
And just takes the evidence she's brought and steals it. That was like...
Yep.
It's like, yeah. Meanwhile...
Superman is being fucking fried.
He uses his X-ray vision and looks through the mirror and sees the skeleton of Lex Luthor, and probably one of my favorite panels in this entire book. Like,
yeah,
something about that image is just haunting.
It's great. Oh yeah, and also I think it's partially the idea that that's really the first time that this Clark ever sees Lex Luthor.
Yes,
great.
Also, it's very the American government and military are idiots because they're convinced that Clark Kent is a shapeshifter.
They bring out this... Is it a goat?
It's a cow. It is.
Cow, that's it.
It is. The cow gets a backstory, and it's hilarious.
And
kind of tragic, honestly.
It's brought before Superman, and they're like, this is what one of your kind looks like naturally, isn't it? And Clark just starts laughing. And Clark's like, I look like everyone else. I'm fine. I'm good.
It's like, also, except my eyes don't just absorb radiation; they emit all kinds. And he's basically sent out an EMP to destroy all their computers.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Lois is trying to get in. She then tries to woo John Corbin.
Yes, who we learn has a thing for Lois. Wouldn't it be fucking wild if the New 52 went for John Corbin and Lois Lane together? I wouldn't put it past them.
I thought you were going to set up as that's a thing that they actually ended up doing.
No. Sorry, I didn't mean to actually imply that or anything. Although, again, it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, Clark then breaks out of his electric chair, begins breaking out of the prison that he's being kept in, threatens Lex Luthor, gets his cape back, flies the fuck out of there,
finds the rocket ship.
Yes, which he is receiving a message from, presumably in a Kryptonian dialect, it seems.
That he doesn't seem to understand.
Yes. Which actually, I really hadn't thought about the My Adventures with Superman adaptation here, but that's also a thing that they could have taken. It seems very much like that. Huh.
Grant Morrison is everywhere if you know where to look.
It's they're in your walls right now.
You say that, but my brain has been rotted by that stupid.
Oh no, the unknown! No, no, oh no, oh that reference is probably going to be dated by the time this episode even comes out.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh wow, what a time we live in. Anyway,
yeah, Superman's going to leave. Bursts through an elevator shaft as it opens. Where Lois is just, we have their one brief appearance, like, small world. Sorry, Miss Lane, this elevator's full right now.
Yep. And meanwhile, in below, in part of Luthor's experiments, and one of the things that they're making down here seems to be some sort of like robotic exoskeleton suit. It's gonna be the Metallo suit. Duh, obviously.
Duh.
Yeah. Anyway, also we end the issue with Lex Luthor contacting someone up in space, a spaceship watching over Earth, and it is. I mean, actually, I'm curious. Who did you think it was at first? It's pretty easy. Yeah.
The symbol's right there on the front of it.
Is it?
Kind of in the windows on the front. It's an inverted.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Huh, interesting. Anyway, on to issue 3.
Grant Morrison is not subtle.
3. No. They're brilliant, but no,
brilliant, but not subtle. This is World Against Superman, and we have our first flashback.
Yeah. Grant Morrison has some takes on Krypton. I shouldn't say it's like super different, but it's different enough. It feels weird. In that perfectly Grant Morrison alien way. Yeah. In that perfectly like sort of Grant Morrison alien way that just really works, I think.
It works because it is alien.
Yeah.
We're also specifically in the city of Kandor on Krypton.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm sure isn't significant at all.
No. What? No. No. Nothing. No. Nothing.
I've never heard of this Kandor.
Nothing bad ever happened to Kandor. Well, I shouldn't say that.
It's the Jim Downey. You mean the Kandor, my favorite city on Krypton, right? Yeah. I'm talking about Kandor, the Kryptonian city. I didn't hear about this bottle. Anyway, oh god, wow, we're getting really sidetracked with this one.
But yeah, so anyway, my point here is the way Morrison constructs an alien society. There's some things that reflect Earth with parties, like this is all at a party. Krypton is already doomed to be destroyed. Jor-El is trying to get people out of Kandor because Jor-El has been contacted by something that's told him the world's going to be destroyed and that Kandor is going to be saved, and he's realized what saved means in this context and doesn't like it. And things start to go to shit, and we stop there, and Clark wakes up.
Yep. And then we strongly imply that Mrs. N already knows that he's Superman.
Yeah. Here's the thing. He's not been great about hiding it.
No.
This is 2011. There aren't many phone booths to hide in. It's heavily implying that he's also set out his costume in the laundry.
Yeah, he just leaves it on the clotheslines. Yeah. It's great. Basically, Clark's apartment comes to be investigated, which, sure. I'm now forgetting why, actually. Oh, yeah, is it because of the Glenn Morgan investigations?
The Glenn Morgan investigations, because Clark is a journalist who has been doing an expose on them. Yes. Also, Clark is currently reading, apparently, The Man Who Fell to Earth, which is a nice little... It's like it's one of those. That's one of those things like the Master reading the War of the Worlds in Frontier in Space.
Yeah.
I get a smile whenever an author does that. Like,
it's nice.
It's so dumb.
But in short, these guys find nothing, and Clark is left in his apartment afterwards with Mrs. N just straight up saying, "Hey, I found your Superman cape. You're Superman, right?"
Like, really bad at hiding it. Then we get this is where we get a decent chunk of Clark as Clark.
Which is nice because there isn't much of that throughout this volume. But importantly, it's Clark with Jimmy and Lois. Because they're reporter friends, they're buddies, they're friends. But they see on the TV that Glenn Morgan is claiming that he was like threatened and pretty much like coerced into saying what he said around Superman. Also, there are like people being like interviewed on the streets about Superman and what they think of him, which is just nice to see. I don't know, I always like that kind of like world building in Superman comics.
There's also this one homeless person who, when Clark is sitting on a park bench, says there's a ghost watching over you. There's a white dog.
It's nice.
Morrison clearly wants to bring everybody into the New 52 as quickly as they can.
Part of me just like really would love to have seen a full-on Superman run where like Morrison gets to play in their own universe, just entirely not connected to anything else, just do whatever the fuck they want with Superman. I would love to see that.
Honestly, I just let Grant Morrison do whatever they want.
Yeah,
and absolutely. You'll probably get something worth selling. But like this is the whole, the world's against Superman, and
here he is saving a cat out of a tree.
Yeah. And then a cat out of a tree, and as well as a woman from being run over by a semi, and he even takes the bricks. And we also get the first hint that Ma and Pa Kent in this continuity have passed away. Mm-hmm. In this one panel of him crying over their picture because he's tried to save them, and then he's trying to save people and can't save everybody, and the world still hates him.
Yep.
But at this point, we then get our move into really
the journalist. Then,
yes,
which is nice. We had heard of him investigating these big important powers before this point, but here we actually see him going out and doing it. He's talking to who forget this guy's name.
This is one of the people working for Glenn Morgan.
Yes. And so as Clark is interviewing him, he's like, "Hey, what are you even doing here? We've had enough reporters today." And Clark's like, "Other reporters?" And of course, Jimmy and Lois are already there. So this causes this, big fight here. Not a fight, literally. Although it would be kind of funny if Clark just started fist fighting Lois Lane. Now I want to see that. Anyway. But yeah, as this is all happening, we begin to get a mysterious message from the technology surrounding them that warns them. And as all this is happening, John Corbin is being put into the metal exoskeleton suit that begins to take over his mind. The same sort of green speech bubbles that were warning everyone back at the warehouse there are now here, speaking through John Corbin and taking him over entirely. As John Corbin obviously becomes Metallo, because what else is going to happen? I will say I don't love as much the John Corbin doesn't have this freak accident that makes him Metallo somehow in this.
Well, because it's explicitly connecting Metallo to Brainiac.
Yeah, which I mean it does work for the purposes of this story.
It works. I also can't help but wonder if this was another Dan DiDio doesn't tell anybody what their plans are for some of their villains, so
that one I'm not sure about. This does feel like a Morrison thing, actually.
So Morrison wants to do something interesting, yeah, could be. It's weird. It definitely works for the story. I'm curious to see what Metallo does in the rest of the New 52, if he appears at all.
Yeah, I know for a fact I have read the Metallo like villain month one shot that they did during Forever Evil, but I truly cannot remember anything about it. But he still looks like he does here in that. Anyway, that's beside the point. Anyway, he becomes Metallo, and that's the end of the issue. On to Action Comics issue number 4. Our last sort of regular issue before things get sort of turned upside down.
Also where we start getting the backup stories.
I thought it was 5.
Is it?
Or I could be wrong.
The first one's the first one's in 4.
What issue is missing a backup story? I forget.
8.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I truly don't know because I've read this all in the trade. And but it's weird. So
the way the trade splits.
You're also gonna have to tell me what order the backup stories go in because at the back of the trade they're out of order. So
oh my, okay,
yeah, they're out of order specifically so they could put the John Henry Irons ones first and then the Mom Podcast.
Okay, so the first one is the first John Henry Irons one.
Yeah.
The second one is when I'm trying to figure out what the second one is.
So the first one is Hearts of Steel, right?
Yes.
Second one is Baby Steps, maybe?
Yes, second one's Baby Steps. Okay.
So the way they have it is Hearts of Steel, Meanwhile, Baby Steps, and Last Day is in the trade. It's weird. But I'm guessing the actual way it should go is Hearts of Steel, Baby Steps, Meanwhile, Last Day.
Actually, Last Day and Meanwhile are swapped.
Son of a bitch. Wow, that's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah. You know what? Why didn't they just keep it in publication?
I mean, I get why. Because when you're presenting a trade, I guess, I get why. But it's weird. Anyway, back to it. Issue 4. Hell is breaking loose. Metallo is Brainiac, really, and
Lex Luthor is a coward.
Yep, but what else is new? These are things we know. These are facts. But these voices are sort of springing up in around Clark, Lois, and Jimmy, and I forget the Glenn Morgan guy's name. I forget his name. Anyway, they're springing up. John Henry Irons is seeing all this happening, and it very clearly already has a steel suit, which is really awesome. I love that.
I will say they explain it better in the backups.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I do love those backups. They're really great.
Yeah, because we don't actually get a whole lot of why in the main story. And it's actually really interesting because it's a whole thing about creating this metal and then seeing Lex Luthor get his hands on it. So John Henry's like, well, no, I'm inspired by Superman to actually be a superhero.
Yeah.
It's very, very nice. Because, of course, Superman is immediately springing into action and trying to fight these robots. Including
all these various bits of machinery have been taken by Brainiac as well. We really shouldn't be saying Brainiac because Brainiac hasn't actually been revealed yet, but it's incredibly obvious.
They keep calling him the Collector of Worlds.
Yeah, it's not the most subtle. But anyway,
Superman at one point throws a tank at one of these robots, which is great.
Corbin also, through his Brainiac-controlled suit, begins calling out for Lois to help him, and Lois walking up to him, sort of like just seeing what Corbin has become, trying to talk him down. While Superman is there. Also, he switches to a white shirt for some reason.
I think that's a matter that the colorist switched between issues.
That's weird.
Because, or no, it's still Brad Anderson. I don't know why.
I don't get it. Anyway, so Superman then goes up to confront Metallo himself, and we get this fight between the two of them. Which seems to actually be going in Metallo's favor until, of course, actually no. Well, first we cut back to Lex. But Lex is once again being a coward and staying in contact with his alien contact, and says we had an arrangement that this isn't how it was supposed to go. But then, as Superman is getting his ass handed to him by Metallo, in comes John Henry Irons, full steel suit, comes in, kicks ass, is fucking awesome. I love this character so much. He's so great.
We also get an editor's note of check out this issue's backup to see how this fight plays out.
Oh, see, that is not in the trade.
Yeah, which is again, it's why I honestly think reading these issues straight is probably the better experience, even if we're jumping out of order.
Yeah,
because Morrison's very much aware of what they're writing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a reason there are 2 interludes, and it's not like art on the next issue was taking too long. It's clearly Morrison wants to establish things in issues 5 and 6. Some very important things for how this story is going to play out, and can't do that anywhere else. Because we are, of course, building to Metropolis being put into a bottle.
Yes, which does in fact happen. The collector bottles up Metropolis, welcomes them to the collection, and Superman and the military surrounding Metropolis sees what has happened to it. It has just completely disappeared, and that is where the issue ends. Well, and that is, of course, without the backup story. So let's get into that.
Well, because General Samlin's like, well, my daughter was in there. If she's still alive, can you reach her? Can you save her? It's like, got an idea, but I might need a little help. And then it's continued in Action Comics number 7. Next interlude, Rocket Ship or Rocket Song.
But yeah, in the meantime, we have our first backup story here with Hearts of Steel. That is the first one here. Yeah, okay. But yeah, first off, these backups, all the backups featured here and throughout the entire Grant Morrison Action Comics run are by Sholey Fish, who just needs far more credit for giving as much to this run as he does. Just truly, like, just does so much work for this run that he never gets credited on the covers of the trades or on the omnis, and it's just like these backups are so important, I think, at least. But anyway, that's beside the point. So we start off this backup here with showing how John Henry Irons made his suit. We already talked a little bit about that.
Metal Zero. And we see John Henry Irons coming in for the fight.
Yep, picking up where that sort of like halfway point of the issue was, and just taking it away from there, following exclusively John's side of the story as he fights Metallo. First off, also the art here is done by Brad Walker entirely, which is really cool. Brad Walker does some great things here. Yeah, just some really great pages here, I think.
Also helps. What I find fascinating is, we really get some interesting character beats with John Henry Irons. Very much like, I didn't like that I was named after a folk hero because it gave me something to really look up to. But now I actually have a bigger purpose after creating Metal Zero and this suit, and then designing a virus to upload into the Metallo suit to try to take down John Corbin, and literally use his hammer to punt him off the bridge and into the water. It is fantastic, and it's all about steel. Like,
yeah, it's nice. It's a really, really nice story, and just great to see some spotlight on John Henry Irons, especially this new version of the character for the New 52. And Fish does some great things.
Yes,
but more on that in a few issues' time. First, we go back now to issue 5 of Action Comics.
Which this one
Excuse me while I vamp here, as I have to flip through this entire trade again.
Yes, because this one is the actual let's do Superman's origin.
Yeah, but also Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah, but only briefly Legion of Superheroes.
That's how I always remember this story, actually. Yeah, that's weird.
Well, because the Legion really only shows up in the final couple of pages.
Yeah, you're right.
For issue 6, because issue 6 is the Legion is the big Legion issue. Yeah, so this one open with the destruction of with Krypton being destroyed, falling apart. Mm-hmm. Morrison is making the correct decision of everyone knows the backstory of Superman.
Mm-hmm. And so it kind of gets speed run, and also gets some interesting things here because Krypto's here kicking ass, which is
Krypto's
really
here
nice.
kicking ass, and Morrison decides, well, okay, Jor-El probably would have tried to save his entire family if he could.
Mm-hmm.
So he thinks, maybe I could put us in the Phantom Zone and maybe we'll survive.
Which has the obvious problem of, oh, that's right, we store dangerous criminals in there.
Yeah, it's like, this is also the Phantom Zone, Jor-El. And I love the phantoms that we see. I mean, obviously they're not it feels like they're phantoms because they're kind of projections, and they slowly start almost making their way out when Krypto attacks them. And
Krypto puts a stop to that shit immediately. It's great. But yeah, they decide. You see, like the actual like natural conclusion of like, okay, well, we can only really save Cal. Let's go do that.
And here's the thing: the rocket is only a prototype, which is important because it's like, okay, well,
there's this element of danger too, where it's just like we don't even know if this will actually work.
Well, it's also very much distinctly emphasizing the Moses aspect of the story because, okay, I love Richard Donner Superman. It's a great movie. It's also kind of the origin of Superman as Jesus.
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
And Morrison is very aware that they don't want to do Superman as Jesus.
Yeah, because Superman is not Jesus.
Yeah, I don't think Superman works as well when he's a messianic figure like Jesus. And taking away the Moses aspect of the story, or losing that emphasis, I'd argue kind of does a disservice to the Jewish heritage of both Siegel and Schuster. It's a whole thing. So Morrison is very much, okay, this is a last-ditch effort to save somebody, to save one person, to save our child. It might not work. And the emphasis comes. This is also where we first get Brainiac to be actually named Brainiac.
Happens here. But also, I just fucking love this title page for Rocket Song. First of all, also Ars Bandi Kubert. We haven't mentioned that yet.
Yes,
my God, I love the way the destruction of Krypton looks here as the rocket flies away. It's just it's gorgeous. Some great colors used in there.
It's literally splitting in half. And then the rocket flies away. It searches, and it finds Earth, and then it crashes. Like
actually crashes. Like doesn't land in the way that Superman's pod tends to. This thing is a rocket coming from outer space. It's a crash.
And we get then this added aspect to the backstory of John and Martha Kent.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. They've had nothing but bad luck. There is one of their cows has had a calf, and it's a deformed calf. And Martha Kent has had a miscarriage of some sort. So there's this whole idea of this, like, this was our last chance at having a family. And then the rocket crashes, and they go to investigate, and it's like, well, we heard crying. What? Oh, there's a baby in here.
And so they take the baby. Obviously, we know the story. But also importantly, in this version, the rocket is taken by the military.
Morrison emphasizes that based on time, this is the middle of the Cold War. So they make the next obvious leap of the U.S. military is definitely going to find this thing.
Oh, yeah.
So to make sure that they make the correct decision of do not trust the American military.
Literally that line in Superman the Animated Series where Pa Kent thinks it's like a Russian rocket at first when he sees baby Clark.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's from S-TAS, but yeah, I don't know. I love that. Naturally, they're right. The military takes it, but on their way back, they're kind of stopped by the military.
Well, they intentionally come up with this plan because they know the military is swarming. They're like, okay, we have a deformed cow.
And so there you go. Like you said, it is a fucked up backstory, but it's also kind of funny. Let's be honest.
It's funny. It's fucked up, funny, and brilliant. It's like, okay, we wrap this cow in tinfoil, trick the American military.
It's so good. Then we flash forward a little bit to actually one of our previous issues action scenes where Superman is escaping the military complex, and he comes across the rocket, and Lex escaping and all that. And
the rocket starts to transform slightly with these almost ice-like crystals, as well as then being approached by three people who discuss about 3 or 4 people discussing, about power, the House of L, and revenge, as things are building to basically this being a story about Superman and the Legion of Superheroes in the end. Having to fight the anti-Superman army. And that's where we build. And this kind of hit me. I was like, oh, we're doing something. We're doing some Silver Age stuff.
It's great. And also just that idea that Morrison always loves playing with Superman is the take that is always that, Superman being aware of the Legion of Superheroes early on is that idea that a lot of Superman's hope comes from the fact that he knows he has seen the future, and that is what drives him almost, knowing that his legacy means that much. It's great. Yeah. I love that idea. But anyway, go into
the fact that like the New 52 allowed Morrison to use the Legion of Superheroes kind of surprised me.
Yeah. Although there was I believe, no, I could be wrong. I think there was a New 52 Legion of Superheroes.
Possible.
Sure. I could be wrong.
But yeah, we also still have the backup story,
which one is this one?
This one's Baby Steps, aka the heartbreaking one.
Yeah.
Because it's the marriage of John and Martha Kent. And it is so happy and amazing. And it's like, look, we're going to have our lives together, and we're going to have children. We're going to just do one at a time, though, because babies don't fall from the sky.
Lamau.
And their happily ever after then slowly gets sadder. It's like they are trying to have kids, and negative pregnancy tests. They go see a doctor who basically tells them, between the two of you, I don't think you can have children.
Yeah. They go to a priest who offers encouraging words. That seems to give them hope. It's a really nice scene. They go to adoption services, and that it could still take a long time, and that it'll still cost a lot of money. And they again hope they're up, but it's not going great.
Well, we better start saving again. And then they're riding home, where they are talking to see, like, how can we get money? And John's like, well, we could mortgage the farm. And, Martha's like, no, that farm's been in your family for generations. We couldn't lose it. It's like, oh, well, what if we moved into town, open up a store or something? And then
that exchange is made even better by the following backup story, I think. That is and as that backup closes out, we get the shot of the rocket approaching Earth, and knowing that their luck is about to change. And it's a really nice note to end on, bringing us then into Action Comics number 6.
Which this one is...
Gotta flip through the whole trade again.
This is when Superman learned to fly. With a wonderful cover showing New 52 Superman with being captured and exposed to some sort of kryptonite on the cover, which is a wonderful cover from Andy Kubert. Have I vamped long enough for you, Joey?
I'm here. We're good.
Okay, cool.
We made it.
I'm running out of things
It's good.
say.
You're fine. Thank you for the cover talk. I didn't know why you were giving so much focus to the cover. I was like, yeah, I'll just let him go. It's fine. But
I was trying to give you a vamping space.
I didn't know. Anyway, sorry. Okay, we're here.
Yeah. So the anti-Superman army, they seemed responsible for kryptonite and the isotopes of kryptonite, called Synthetic K. It's like, they think, oh, this is guaranteed to kill Superman, and it's basically a bunch of villains. I want to say a decent chunk of them are pre-established, like Silver Age villains.
It's possible, but I admittedly just don't know.
This is a very Grant Morrison issue. Like, it's very Morrison's. Like, we all have reason to hate Superman, so they're all dedicated to his downfall and destruction. It's like, okay, you'll have this, but everyone must perform attacks. So we then jump to the present, or the present of the rest of this, these 8 issues, where
with a future Superman.
With a future Superman. Time in comics is already weird, but having to account
time is a weird soup.
Yes. But having to account for the New 52 is even weirder.
Also implies that the Superman has a future. Oh, we love it. Anyway, I mean, I guess really you could just say that this is the Superman from like the current New 52, probably.
Yeah, that's.
But also, it's funnier if you try to say that the Superman has a future. Anyway, yeah. So the future Superman and the Legion of Superheroes are investigating this. They are attacked by a giant squid, the alien
called
thing.
Eric Drekken, who is a shape-shifting squid alien.
It is magnificent. Look at that design.
This is a Silver Age plot, and the Legion are honestly fun characters. I kind of wish we got to read a little more of them, in a slightly more new reader friendly context. Because I'm going to say this isn't the most.
Oh, it is not accessible.
Reader friendly.
This shit is straight up fucking.
This is, for me.
This is another language to many people, I imagine.
This is probably. I don't want to call it I don't even want to call it like a bad issue.
It's not a bad issue. It's clearly
still got Morrison's charm.
Yeah.
It's just I don't have the accessibility of these characters, largely because they're characters who, for a large chunk of immediate post-crisis, got the shaft and were written out of continuity. So now it's a thing about what happens when you do big reboots. Come with their casualties, no matter what. Even the good ones, and the Legion being casualties is kind of a shame. Yeah. Again, I do love that Superman's trying to help, but also this is New 52 extra asshole Superman. And turns out, the anti-Superman army is hiding in the one place that he'll never look. And it's in your mind, I think. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's what it's going for. And then we also get a flashback, which seems kind of random, but it's really nice nonetheless.
I like some of these flashbacks. It's one of
they're nice, yeah. I just love any focus on Ma and Pa Kent and like teenage Clark. It's nice. It's cool.
It's very The Adventures of Superman when he was a boy.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a lot about
it's in the Legion going inside Superman's mind and then saying farewell to Superman as the Legion goes to take on this coalition of villains that have attacked Superman, as Superman is affected by kryptonite, and as well as the shape-shifting squid monster. The Legion gets back to help Superman.
This is where we get the first confirmation that Ma and Pa Kent are no longer alive.
Hey, what do you know? Issue 6. Perez.
Perez only did 6 issues, correct?
Yeah, he only did 6 issues. Yeah. I have the trade. You could fit Perez's entire Superman into one trade.
Oh, I feel so bad for George Perez.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's, you know, I know it's restrictions. I know it's editorial. I don't like it. I don't think it's a good trade personally. It's not his best work.
I think Perez could write a really good Superman run, though.
Oh, he totally could. He's written good Superman before. It just
good. So it's not the only shot. I always forget if it's the only shot.
Well, I mean, he's done the crossovers and all that with Wonder Woman, which he did fantastic work on back in the 80s. Also, he's written a ton of big events with Superman in it as well. He's written the character extremely well in the past. He was in some really bad circumstances for that run. Yeah. It's a shame. But anyway, healing Superman then from his kryptonite poisoning and leaving him then. We get in on this really nice page of young Clark and the Legion.
The younger Legion.
Yes.
And this is, all another backup that is kind of heartbreaking.
Last Day, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Fucking hell, this trade. Okay. It's probably my favorite backup, actually. I love Last Day.
It is. This is, if I'm gonna be honest, the best way to describe this is Clark Kent looking back on his childhood or a very young adult Clark Kent. Like, this is going off to college Clark Kent, where Ma and Pa have passed. He's giving the farm to a good friend of his folks, and he's reminiscing on his childhood. And
he gets sort of just one last look through here. Reflect on good times and bad even, and it's fucking lovely.
It's
he also reflects on times with
tribute to the Smallville characters.
That I'm obviously a big fan of, and I'm sure you are too.
Yes, it's Fish really captures just sort of remembering childhood fondly with all its ups and downs, and then being ready to move on.
Perfectly capped off by the fact that waiting for Clark as he finishes packing up his things here are Lana and Pete, and honestly I love that.
It's the last 2 pages, I think, really, that button the story to perfection.
It's so good.
It does it, and it does it not with any explicit dialogue. There's dialogue here, but it's the themes it's just clear.
The dialogue is just closing remarks between Pete, Lana, and Clark. But it's what you see there. It's Clark taking the picture of his parents and leaving the rest there, and it's so good. I fucking love it. It's great stuff, needless to say. But that brings us now into Action Comics number 7.
Action Comics number 7.
Looking back to you now. There we go. Got it. Okay.
Yes. Where we have Metropolis in a dome.
In a dome. In a bottle.
And Superman decides, right, I'm just going to try to run really fast and get to where this spaceship is.
Homie's got that Chris Reeve logic.
I mean, it works because he's Superman.
It works, yeah. And also, I love that panel so much of just his shoes.
Yes,
breaking underneath him, it's so good.
It very much it helps sell them. It's what sells. It's details like that really sell the moment.
You don't need to draw ridiculously big, impressive, or a ton of panels of somebody running fast to get that they're running fast. It's just that one panel that tells me exactly how fast Clark is running.
Yeah, and it's honestly it's a panel that understands how to roll with the. Let's be honest. absurdity of the premise.
Yeah.
And it's taking it seriously and playing it completely straight. And then we get, this is Superman's doomsday decision. As Superman is trying to get into this spaceship where he is once again shocked. He gets shocked a lot.
A lot.
A lot. But also, Brainiac realizes that this is a breathing Kryptonian.
Yeah. And fascinated by this, obviously, Clark is kind of allowed to look around at Brainiac's collection inside here. It's a really, really cool moment. And once
also,
again,
when you see the collection page, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Grant Morrison's a Doctor Who fan.
Oh wait, I missed it. Where?
Sort of top center. Like some of the designs feel very Time Lord Collar. Like.
Oh yeah. Okay, gotcha. See, yeah. I part of me immediately went to, because based on all the cities and everything, I kind of would love to have seen like the Skaro city or something.
Oh God! Like
or maybe like Cyberman tombs or something. That'd be
God. Here's the thing. I could imagine Morrison getting Morales to slip in, Morales or Cooper to slip in that original 1964 city model somewhere.
That would be great. I would love that. That's what you're going for with all the little cities in here. But yeah, the collar is definitely a Time Lord-esque. And also, we know Grant Morrison's a massive Doctor Who fan, so
yeah, they've written for Doctor Who comics.
Yeah, they'd already done it at this point. So meanwhile, down in the shrunken city below,
then Lex Luthor the bastard.
He's very straight up about the fact that he caused all this.
It's like, well, I caused all this. You're not going to hurt me about it because I'm Lex fucking Luthor. But like, he's also just such a coward at every decision. It's like, I am going to make the decision that is going to make my life worse.
Yeah.
Like Lois and Jimmy have to basically drag him along. That like into the basement of the Glen Morgan Hotel, where Glen Morgan is in fact there.
He's like sheltered down here with a bunch of other people in Metropolis. And yeah,
there's also this man at the bar with a silk tie. I am convinced this is Mixie Spitlick or something, because it's just, this is the man that he gets, that in the later issue gets called a devil, and he's talking about how, like, I've been working at this hotel bar since you bought the old place. Must be nearly 8 years. You can even say we're old friends, Mr. Glen Morgan. Don't you remember the time you forgot your lovely silk tie?
You have some interesting observations about this book.
Am I right? Tell me I'm right.
I'm not telling you anything.
You feel like, look.
You will have to wait and see, my friend.
I really hope I'm right and I don't just sound like a crazy.
It would be really great if you were wrong. Anyway, moving on. I also love this bit that when they see the giant Superman symbol outside the window, because Clark is just looking at the miniaturized Metropolis, and looking at it and trying Brainiac is then attacks Clark, knocking the entire city on its side, and you see this great panel of all the whole bar underneath the hotel being shaken up. Then between all this, Superman has this nice long talk with Brainiac, which basically culminates in Superman being presented with a Kryptonian relic, a suit that he takes and puts on and morphs to his body, and we get the actual New 52 Superman suit, which, look, I know it got a lot of hate. I still don't hate it, to be honest.
I don't love the design, but I don't hate this idea as an origin for a suit, if that makes sense.
Well, it's kind of once again, it's kind of the Zack Snyder thing where he takes the Superman suit as literally Kryptonian armor. It's kind of cool. I'm kind of into that.
I will say, what I find interesting here is that Morrison is clearly playing with the nature versus nurture element of like, is Superman from a Kryptonian? Is he an Earth? Is he from Earth? What, like, that sort of rhetorical question? Because again, this is the first serving a full continuity reboot since the big post-crisis reboot, where John Byrne's run is kind of famous. I haven't read John Byrne's run, but I've heard quite a lot about it being very Superman is from Earth, and is an American. And I think Morrison is very careful to be like, the point is that he can be both.
He's both. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Back on designs for a second, though. Here, I just want to mention the only thing I don't like about the suit. I hate the collar. Why is there a collar?
The collar. Here's the thing. It's like all the New 52 suits for the Justice League wanted collars. Basically.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I don't get it. Except for Wonder Woman, of course. Actually, even Wonder Woman has the fucking choker thing. Yeah, it's like weird. Yeah, but also look. I like the trunks. I like trunks. I don't mind there not being trunks. That's all.
Well, I will say what kind of helps this design is that, at least over, like one of my complaints with the Man of Steel suit is that it's so much of it is blue.
See, I don't mind that actually.
I think with it works depending on where in the DCEU you're at.
I think honestly the best colorization of it is probably Batman v Superman.
Maybe it's been a while since I've seen it.
It got a massive color upgrade from the actual Man of Steel suit.
But what I really like about this suit is what I was trying to get at is there's the red belt in place of the trunks, so there is something breaking up. That color, but also I don't know. The thing that annoys me is the collar, and there's a lot of lines.
Yeah, that's really the thing that goes through.
That's the thing. It's like, suits. Yeah, it's almost.
And I think in a weird way it works on some characters. Like I actually do like it on Batman because I always like Batman's New 52 design.
Yeah, it works. I mean, it works on Batman because Batman's a character.
And I also think it works on GL.
I'm not sure if it works on Green Lantern, but again, it's been a while since I've read any New 52 with Green Lantern, as opposed to New 52 Batman.
But also on designs, getting back to action here, what a fucking Brainiac design!
Oh, Brainiac's a fucking dragon.
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those weird, complete far departures from any other design. I love it. I think it's so cool.
Well, I think why it works so well is that despite being a very far departure, like, it really represents the character well, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can see the
you can still see how it is Brainiac.
Yeah, it's just doing something so different with it. Because I could imagine a half person, half snake Brainiac.
Like it's honestly not that much of a stretch.
Yeah. And I also just the reveal, because we've been doing Brainiac's such a presence in this arc, despite being such a monologue heavy character. It's fascinating.
And also because we haven't brought up voices at all for this, it's all Corey Burton, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on, Corey Burton is just the perfect Brainiac. I love him so much. Anyway, let's get into our backup though.
Yeah, our final backup.
Meanwhile, it's called.
Yes, because it's quite literally. Well, it's also Steel in Meanwhile. I really hope that I believe they would have kept that in the trade.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's there. Yep.
Yeah. And this is all about Steel reflecting on Metropolis as a city and helping.
It's nice. It's really nice. It's really nice. He gets his first great little conversation between him and Natasha Irons, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Great to see her.
All here. Moving in between, saving people on the bridge, saving people on a ferry, as it's going to go over a waterfall, saving people trapped under cars, saving people trapped in burning buildings, stopping some looters. It's one person. What this feels like is Shelley excuse me, I can't seem to speak right now. Charlie Fish doing the Superman is there to save everybody, and putting that on a person who, well, obviously he's not saving everybody, but he's doing his best to help, and he's doing a good job.
Yeah. It's nice. It's very much like, with strip away the context of Superman's death, where Steel was first introduced, and make it what is just somebody inspired by Superman's actions, and it's really nice.
And it ends with just that perfect line of, "It doesn't take one hero; it takes millions of them."
Yeah, it's great. It's a really great little story, and a great backup to end off the issue and bringing us into our slightly longer final issue of the collection, Action Comics number 8. The Collector of Worlds. So, getting into it, we're back in the hotel basement here. Once again, getting one of those great gags where Superman gets tossed into the miniaturized city. There's just a giant cape coming at them. It's great.
So, I love Lex's monologue here of, I empathetically do not want to wish to be rescued by Superman. Worst idea ever. Trust me, Miss Lane. And we get this whole idea of, and then we have Glenn Morgan who's like, it's like one of those films, those horrible films. They're trapped in hell and the bartender is the devil. There's no bartender here. Where'd the little man go? It's Mixie. It's Spitlick. I am convinced.
You're great.
Then let's get this monologue of just like, picture 2 warring alien empires, one synthetic, mechanized, antiseptic, the other sweating. Planet Earth caught in the crossfire. When it contacted me, I did my best to deceive it on behalf of all humanity. But it turns out our dear old planet Earth is doomed, and this is actually the only way out. The Collector is saving us. Half of this is definitely a lie. Like,
oh yeah.
Lex is just lying through his teeth.
Well, yeah. Lex has just been thinking of ways to absolve himself of any blame, of course. Meanwhile, back up in Brainiac's ship above Earth, Superman and Metallo, who's back up here, begin fighting themselves. Get a great little action scene here. While below, once again, another one of those great gags. I just love those panels where you just see one of those like bigger things looking outside the bottle that Metropolis is currently trapped within. It's really cool.
Everything that comes out of Lex Luthor's mouth this issue is gold.
Oh yeah, like so many great dialogue moments.
And it's this whole idea. Again, the whole fight between Superman and Brainiac is, again, it's that nature versus nurture. It's like you get a choice. You can try to save. You can save Kandor or Metropolis, and you can't save both. The other one's going to be saved by Brainiac, and it's very clear. It's like that in this continuity, being saved doesn't mean that the people in the city they're still alive, but they're not conscious. Like, it's called a microstasis, very much implying that they are cryogenically frozen to just be a static museum piece. Which is kind of horrifying. I mean, it adds to the horror of this entire story, because this is kind of also a send-up of 50s sci-fi alien invasion flicks. And of course, Superman doesn't stop.
And also, I love this little touch here. It's just a cool thing where the Superman suit continue being that it adapted to him before continues to adapt with. I believe the implication is with the cities that he is like crashing into. It's adapting to those as well. But it's an interesting idea. It basically color scheme is all it is. But it's a nice little touch. I like it.
There's also this idea that Brainiac itself is somehow got its consciousness into every communication network in the universe. So, like, it's in the internet, which doesn't get expanded on, sadly, but it's such a fascinating idea. Because Brainiac goes on about the emotion that is infected it with John Corbin, as it's trying to build this collection. So Superman breaks into Metropolis and pulls out the rocket ship, all while John Corbin is pleading with Superman to try to save him as well. As he sort of gets through. Yeah. He threatens to break the collection, so builds this negotiation and demands that preservation be reversed. And Brainiac basically says, no, you won't do it because you're too moral.
Hey, also, we forgot to mention up to this point, there's this implication that Morrison throws in here that Brainiac is the internet. Yeah, I just forgot to throw that out there. I just think that's
I just brought that up literally 2 minutes ago, Joey.
Oh, did you? Oh, fuck! Wow. Okay, jeez, I totally missed that. Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know how I missed you saying that. Damn.
Yeah, like that's every communication network is the internet.
Oh yeah. Okay. Wow. I am really off right now. Jeez.
You're off right now.
We're good. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, sorry. Continue where we were at. Yeah, Superman won't actually do it.
But he has the rocket.
Mm-hmm.
And the rocket can, in fact, be faster than a speeding bullet. So the rocket is basically our Deus Ex Machina of using it to infect Brainiac and expand the whole collector aspect to reverse the process and recreate, restore Metropolis.
Mm-hmm.
As well as very much implying that this creates the Fortress of Solitude.
Oh, very much so.
Which is a slight anticlimax to the ending, in my opinion, but also a really interesting resolution.
Yeah, I think it works.
Yeah. Because Brainiac's a collector. And I feel like Morrison's leaving it open that Brainiac could return.
Oh, yeah, very obviously. Much so.
Yeah. This is just essentially the first Superman story where Superman's facing a supervillain.
Yeah.
Basically. Before Morrison then devotes quite a bit to the resolution as well, which I think is also just a brilliant way to give us more time with our human our normal people on the ground characters.
Yeah, because after the city is restored, we see Steel being approached by Jimmy Olsen, which is nice. Lois reuniting with Sam, which is really cool. Glenn Morgan being taken away, and then Clark then has a meeting at the Daily Planet about getting an actual job there, which is nice.
Well, no, he has a meeting first at the Daily Star that it's like, well, Clark, you finished your work for us. You have there's only like you have a vacuum. We only hired you to help take down Glenn Morgan. You can go right ahead and work for the Daily Planet. They have a better job offer, so Clark's going to do that.
Yeah,
which is a really interesting development.
Then Clark goes back to his apartment and is talking to somebody that is anonymously contacting him about Clark's investigations, and
this person that it was feeding him tips about Glenn Morgan, calling himself Icarus.
Yes, and this is, of course, Lex Luthor, which creates this beautiful dichotomy of, of course, Lex hating Superman and working with Clark Kent. It's cool. It's really nice.
Icarus flying apt name on the nose. On the nose name there, Lex.
Yep. Lex knows what he's doing.
John Corbin is deeply sedated in medical care. He's alive, but he doesn't have a heart, so it's like, well, we're going to give him the best care. We have another scene with Clark's landlady, who suggests, it's like, I know you're Superman. You could be a star.
And also, she won't tell his secret to anyone, which is nice. And it creates this just nice little moment between the two of them.
Well, I also love sort of the justification for why she's doing this. Like, well, Francis avoided the pain, or he lived for 4 years with his boyfriend, and the whole world believed he was straight. You're a good boy. Your secret's safe with me. Something about just that aspect feels more progressive than a lot of things would from early 2012.
Yeah, very much so.
Again, very, very Morrison. And of course, we then use that to transition into just the over-the-top golden age idea of Superman
classic
getting
key to the city. Yep.
City. It's like, wow, I didn't even know cities had keys.
It's great.
And he, gives sort of an interview to the crowd about, that his home, his home was Krypton. It's a story, but he's here to stay, and he's essentially one of them.
Gets this question from Lois in the crowd. It says, do you have a place to go to be alone? And instead of showing the Fortress of Solitude, they go to Clark talking to the graves of Ma and Pa Kent, which I think is just this perfect little touch. I love that. And Superman flies away and
goes up to be into the Fortress of Solitude on the Brainiac ship.
Yeah. And then before we close this out, we go to Dinosaur Island, where there's a hunter hunting dinosaurs, and also the little bartender guy is there. That is where the issue ends. It's very much just a lead into volume 2. That's all it is.
But not immediately, because I
look at that cover for issue 9. Huh?
Well, also, issue 8, we get a next Meet the Superman of Parallel Earth 23 and the Curse of Superman. So
that's next time. So yes. It's fun. It's a great time.
Great, wonderful story.
Yep. That was Superman and the Men of Steel. So what are we making of this run so far?
I really love it. So, at least in terms of like my ranking of the Morrison things that we've read for the podcast, number 1 is still All-Star Superman.
Fair enough.
Followed by Batman and Son. And then this, and then at the bottom, Resurrection of Ra's al Ghul, which was good, but it was
I don't think I would disagree with that ranking at all.
Yeah, but still, this is still a 9 out of 10 fantastic book. I'm very excited. So I know Morrison was on this book essentially for a year and a half. Basically.
Yeah, 18 issues plus 0 issue in an annual.
Okay. So a little more than a year and a half with that 0 issue, because that would have been a month off.
I believe those released as an additional issue.
Actually. Oh, did they? Okay, well,
if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yes. So we're already basically little under halfway through, technically. At least in terms of the number of issues. It's clear Morrison is using this as their tribute to all things Superman in a normal continuity context. It's obviously not trying to be All-Star Superman, but you can tell it's from the same writer in the best of ways.
Oh yeah. It's very much like, if All-Star Superman is Morrison's take on the end of Superman, what is their take on the beginning of Superman? And that this is very much that. You could see where all of those things that Morrison loved about Superman in All-Star is very much carried over here. It's done with that same level of heart and weird, beautiful sci-fi ideas that Morrison has in regards to Superman. It's great. It's a really great time. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. And
yes, I'm excited. I'm excited to continue.
We have another volume coming up next time, and we'll save the 3rd volume for a later point.
Yes, it's always nice to have first proper ongoing Superman run for the podcast, because
pretty much. Yeah,
the Death and Return of Superman was kind of a run, but that was also just big event, knocked it all at once.
Yeah. But of course, also thankfully, I'm glad to have supplied you with more in the meantime, because for those that don't know, we do Fresh Face one-shots on Blood Donut Studios. We've been covering the current Superman run by Joshua Williamson. I'm glad we've very much been enjoying that. That has been phenomenal.
Next month, we'll be starting a we'll be continuing. We'll basically for that run, we'll be having some big Action Comics Superman crossovers.
Featuring Brainiac, no less. So that's cool.
Yes.
So
or
check all that out.
Brainiac. We aren't entirely sure.
Well, at the very least, we have regular Brainiacs somewhere in there.
Yes.
So, so check all that out. Check out other Fresh Face one-shots we do, like Batman Brave and the Bold and Wonder Woman by Tom King. That's all there. Promotions. Jacob, what do you have going on?
On my blog, I am reviewing Star Wars: The Thrawn Trilogy. As of recording, I haven't started the third one yet, but that'll be coming maybe by the time this is out. I'm not sure. We're actually recording this slightly in advance. Yeah, by about a week. As well as my Letterboxd. I've been doing a bunch of little movie reviews there that have been pretty fun. And then, of course, on my blog, I've also been reviewing Star Trek.
It's true, which
transitions
us into my promotions. But yeah, what would be our last Star Trek thing we released? I can't think of what episode it is.
I'm not sure.
Whatever episode 17 is of the season.
Yes. I'm trying to look it up because as of recording, we both just did Let That Be Your Last Battlefield.
Yeah, and I know that the one after that is Mark of Gideon, but what's the one after that?
That Which Survives.
That Which Survives. So yeah, check those out. We have a video review that I did with my brother. That'll be up, and then of course your blog review.
Yes, my written review.
There's that. Otherwise, other things on the channel. I already mentioned Fresh Face one shots. Breaking Brian, I'm sure will continue at some point. R2BD, for those that watched that, we had a bit of an issue with that recently. There's an episode coming probably next month, or sorry, actually no, probably this month at some point in March. We had an issue with that. It's getting resolved. Don't worry. Otherwise, I think that about does it.
Well, actually, we should say for Fresh Faced Comics, we do hopefully at some point this month we have a bonus episode coming. I'm very nearly done with.
Oh, that's true. Finally,
yes. As of recording, I only have like 4 more stories of that show.
Yay!
Yay!
We could tell them. Maybe say what it is. Yeah, Justice League 2001. So
yes, specifically just Justice League. So those 2 seasons.
Those first 2 seasons. Yeah,
Unlimited
will be at a later point. So.
Yeah, because I know Unlimited. There's at least one episode that I want to do a big deep dive in when we do that bonus episode. It's the Alan.
Oh yes, of course. Yes.
Yes.
The only Alan Moore adaptation that he likes.
Yeah, the only Alan Moore adaptation that he likes, which just
baffling. You'll see why. It's pretty damn great, obviously.
Yes.
So that bonus episode will be coming out hopefully in the near future. So check all that out. And otherwise, the books we covered today and next, and that we'll be covering next time, will be linked in the description below as Amazon links. You can buy those there if you want to keep up with the podcast. Otherwise, socials and link trees and everything will be linked in the description below as well, for both me and Jacob. And I think that about does it. So yes. Thank you all so much for watching and listening, and be sure to leave a rating, like, comment, subscribe, whatever the fuck you do. I don't know. Whatever you're listening to us on or watching us on, show some support there, I guess. Someday I'll figure out how to close these out. 63 episodes in. Anyway, until next time, this has been Joey Morgan
and Jacob Licklider.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.